Right now, there are over 8 billion humans on this planet. It feels permanent. It feels like humanity was always going to be this massive, unstoppable thing. Here's what should genuinely unsettle you. Around 900,000 years ago, the entire future of our species came down to roughly 1,280 people. Not 1,280,000, 1,280 individual humans, total, holding the fate of every person who would ever exist after them for over 100,000 years without knowing it. This isn't speculation. It's a real, peer-reviewed study published in the journal Science in 2023. Here's the problem scientists were dealing with. You can't dig up a census from 900,000 years ago, and fossils from this era are brutally rare. So a team of researchers from China, Italy, and the United States built a new statistical method and analyzed the DNA of over 3,000 living humans today, looking for patterns that... What they found was staggering. Between roughly 930,000 and 813,000 years ago, the breeding population crashed to about 1,280 people. Not for a bad decade, for approximately 117,000 years. The researchers estimate that roughly 98.7% of the population before this crash simply did not make it through. If you lined up 100 of your direct ancestors from that era, 99 of them would be a dead end. Only one branch, on average, made it through to eventually become you. What actually caused this? The timing lines up with brutal environmental changes. Africa's climate grew significantly colder and drier, likely triggering severe droughts and reshaping available food sources. This wasn't one dramatic event. It was probably a slow-motion collapse, generation after generation, climate worsening, food getting scarcer, until what remained was a group small enough to fit inside a large modern high school. And 12...
To be fair, not everyone in the scientific community is fully convinced. Researchers at the Natural History Museum and the British Museum have pushed back, pointing out that the fossil record still shows human relatives living in and outside Africa during this exact window, in places now called China, Kenya, Spain, and the UK, which they argue should show a bigger gap if the collapse was truly this severe. The study's authors respond that the bottleneck may have hit different regions unevenly. That disagreement isn't a reason to dismiss the research. It's how good science actually works. Here's the perspective check, because we've earned it. You've complained about crowded restaurants and traffic. Meanwhile, the entire future of your species once fit into a single stadium section, survived climate collapse, survived 100,000 years where every meal was a genuine question mark, and still clawed its way back to 8 billion people arguing about parking spots. Every person you've ever met exists because roughly 1,280 people, 900,000 years ago, managed not to die during the hardest stretch our species has ever survived. We tend to think human existence was inevitable. This study is a pretty direct rebuttal to that. For over 100,000 years, the outcome was genuinely uncertain, riding on a population smaller than most modern towns. They didn't know they were living through the bottleneck that would define whether humanity happened at all. They just kept getting up, kept finding food, kept surviving one more season, without ever knowing how close the whole thing came to simply not working out.